which personally.
Welcome to the Sharp Fit for Life podcast, episode number 5, where today we're going to be talking about, have you earned the right to progress? So, have you earned the right to progress, Dom?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, actually, the daft thing is, that's probably the best answer anybody could give. And if you're unsure, the probability is that you haven't kind of pushed yourself to that point where actually you're no longer benefiting from what you're currently doing. And it's one of those things, when you do look at exercise and what people are doing, everyone's really trying to challenge themselves, come out with all the personal best, be able to lift that amount of extra weights, do the extra thing that they didn't think were able to do before. But the reality is, if they haven't actually mastered what they were doing at that time they were doing it, then they're not going to actually be able to get any better progression. They're just going to put themselves further at risk. So, for example, remember when you were starting off, when you were doing the flips, etc.?
I do.
Yeah, and I can still remember you were flipping out everywhere, weren't you? You were bouncing around on the beach, you were doing it on grass, etc. But you started and you went slowly. You did started forward flips, then you started with the reverse flips, then as you started to get even better at them, you started to then add more complications into it. So you started off then with things like doing on the trampoline. And I remember you doing that for ages because it was easy for you to make a mistake. You had somewhere you could cushion yourself.
Hurt less.
Yeah, absolutely. But then I also remember you went to a point where you kind of then took it and you used a scooter on the trampoline, didn't you?
Oh yeah, and skateboard.
And skateboards and all sorts of things, because it was a safe environment for you to do that in. And you kind of earned that right to progress, because you couldn't have effectively started doing those flips on your scooter or your skateboard without actually understanding how to do the flip in the first place, could you?
That's true.
Yeah, so you kind of mastered one part of the skill first, and then you kind of earned the right to actually progress and do something a bit more. Now, the thing is, with any kind of training, you've got that same kind of thing. But I don't know, for some reason, when it comes down to using weights or any kind of exercise, half of that kind of discipline about understanding about progression seems to just disappear out the window. And I'm sure you've been to the gym like I have, and you've seen the man mountains out there, and you kind of throwing weights around. Yeah, and half of them look like they're going to put the back out. I mean, have you noticed that?
No.
No, you've not noticed
I've not been
that.
to the gym for a long time though.
That's very true. Yeah, with lockdown and everything, that's probably about right. But yeah, I mean, I can still remember. And in fact, when I was down in Worcester the other day, and I went to the Pure Gym down there, I saw the same thing happening. People were doing like alternating dumbbell curls, and there's this massive kind of momentum and rocking motion as these guys are trying to just basically move just massive weights. But not with any control, not with kind of anything that
Build
actually
muscle if you're swinging into it, is it?
exactly. You're kind of losing a lot of that control and a lot of that kind of muscular progression down to just momentum and down to kind of those almost like cheat reps all the time. That's not really doing anything for you. So yeah, you're going to be able to increase the weight. Yes, you're going to actually be able to increase the number of reps that you're doing. But is your actual muscles benefiting? Are you actually building on what you've got? So you're actually utilizing that way and that time effectively. Because, like we talked about before, there's kind of only 3 real ways of being able to build muscle, right? You've got your progressive overload, so that's where you put in slightly more weight on each and every time, or slightly more resistance, to act as a bigger stimulus. Then you kind of got the metabolic stress side of things, so you're looking at how you can increase the number of reps you're doing with a specific resistance to build up that kind of lactic acid and the blood flow, etc., into the muscle, which allows it to grow and increase the amount of nutrition you've got. Or you can like the DOMS. No, not DOM, but DOMS, the delayed onset muscle soreness.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So it comes on like 2 days later.
That's the one. Yeah, the one where you just feel like, why did I do that?
But it hurts a few days after.
That's right. And usually for about 24 hours or so.
It's a nice feeling though.
Yeah, you kind of know that you've done something, definitely.
For sure.
Yeah, but those are kind of the 3 main ways of actually being able to build any kind of muscle. And at the end of the day, if you're going to go and do the workout, surely one of the key things you want to do is get the benefit from it, right? I mean, I can imagine if you ever went down to the skate park for a good session and you were just messing around. You didn't really kind of benefit from the time that you spent there. I can imagine you'd be a bit frustrated if you just like sat there watching the ramp or looking at other people doing things.
I mean, I've been there for like 2 years now, so yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely, with your foot, etc. I know how frustrating it was for you.
Yeah.
But how much better has it been now since you've been able to go back to the skate park and actually be able to implement and steadily and gradually build back up to where you were before?
Yeah, it's been very good, rewarding.
And that's been in a slightly different discipline, yeah, because you've kind of transitioned now from just like scooters and BMXs to now BMXs and skateboards. Although the number of skateboard parts now seems to be outweighing the number of scooter parts you ever used to have.
They're all in half though, so it's different.
They're all in. This is very true. They are all in half. The other ones are all in
Takes up
bits.
a bit less space. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But that kind of progression, you've kind of earned the right that actually by the time you've learned how to do one trick on the board, you kind of earn that right to be able to do yet another trick. And the same with when you're doing this with your weight training, etc. If you earn the right to like progress to that next level, to increase the number of reps, to increase the amount of weight. And how do you know when you've actually got there?
But I have a question. Do you have that thing though where I don't know if you've been doing it long enough yet, but if you take a break from it and then you think back to like how did I do that?
Mhm.
Do you get that in that or not? Do you know, like have you
Yeah.
ever done like specific weight or amount of reps? And one day you just think, as if I did that, I probably couldn't do that now.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
your mind's just in that other realm.
Yeah, and also your body changes over time as well. So it's a case of you may have hit a rep count, or you may have hit a specific personal best with the amount of weight that you're moving. And if you did it right, so you've got an absolutely fantastic form as well, you will feel absolutely fantastic when you've done that. But actually, when you come to try and repeat that later on, it's a case of to take your ego out of the game. Don't be frustrated by the fact that you might not be able to do it again. That might just be one of those days where everything was aligned.
I'm not talking frustration though. I just mean like you just think like, wow,
yeah,
how there's so many things I've done in the past where I look back and I'm like, probably would not have the confidence to do that now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's the other side of things that actually you might do.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just wondering, in your world of the gym, is that a thing?
Yeah, definitely. It's days where I've been there and I've kind of like looked over my book and thought, actually, what was my personal best on a specific exercise? I'll look back maybe a year and think, oh my God, I was moving that amount of weight.
You might have been swinging in, but.
And that's the whole point. And certainly when I look back to the early time when I was starting in the gym, I was hitting a personal best. It felt like every single week or every single month at least. But now looking back, and I realized that actually those personal bests probably weren't actually with really good form. They weren't actually in a way that was building muscle in the best way for me. It was probably just a case of, like you say, it was more momentum and force reps, etc., as opposed to being actually putting it in there and saying this is an actual rep with next to no motion anywhere else, absolutely 100% connecting with that muscle and really making sure every single muscle fiber fired at that point in time, taking my ego out of it and knowing that once I stopped being able to fire every single muscle fiber, once I started with the sloppy form or started with the cheat reps or momentum, etc., knowing that that was the point where actually I failed. And then I had choice. The choice is you can force yourself a few more reps, you can force yourself to use momentum, etc. There is merit in certain times to actually doing that, and it will actually help you to progress in certain conditions. But the reality is you need to also be realistic to yourself and say, okay, how many real, absolutely, this is how it's supposed to be done, reps did I do? And did it actually move in the way I did? And, once you get to the point where, for example, if you were saying you're going to do a certain weight with a certain number of reps and you kind of hit that value, and you're thinking, actually, I did that easy enough this week, then you've earned the right to progress it next week. And that might be, again, by just increasing by another small amount or increasing the number of reps that you're doing. And that, when I'm talking about a small amount, that might only be maybe half a kilo or a kilo, because it doesn't have to be a lot. Because, again, anything that changes, your body's going to start to adapt to it and means that you're going to be progressing, right?
Yeah, but there's a lot of mindset in it too.
There's a hell of a lot of mindset.
Over just physical. I mean, it's hard because I can't really relate to the gym side of things, but like, doing flips off stupid stuff. Like, you got to be ready.
Yeah.
And sometimes the little ones feel better, because I've done some stupid things or some stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And it just felt sloppy. And it's like, was that worth it? I probably could have died. Or you can just do some little ones that feel nice.
Yeah, and I think again that's the case of what it is. So if you're doing something just to sort of challenge yourself,
Yeah, which is like lifting a stupidly heavy weight. I've literally done that in
Yeah.
the gym, like thinking, oh, I'll do a 100-kilo bench press, get it up, get it down, can't do anything, got to get someone to lift it off you, sort of thing.
yeah.
I've done that. No, that's I guess when you haven't earned it right,
That's right. You've
you
got to
just think,
yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah.
It'll work.
Absolutely. So all about that natural progression. It's about taking the ego out of the game and just looking at the raw facts. You know, can you physically feel like you can move it? Does it feel good for you? And by doing that, you know, just like you were saying there with, for example, some of the flips, where you've done it off some large or kind of a scary place that could potentially have a higher percentage of death. By actually going to that position where you are taking something smaller, you can perfect your form. And then when you do decide to do something bigger, you've got the opportunity to do that, whether that's going to be, you know,
The form is
higher
important.
yeah. So that might be, for example, a higher diving board. It might be, for example, a different environment. It might be doing it on a balance beam rather than doing it into a foam pit or something.
Yeah, I don't know if a balance beams for my life, I think.
Yeah, I think you've had enough of balance beams for your life beyond a measure of a doubt. But yeah, so hopefully, guys, you guys have picked up a few good tips here. So really, we are kind of preaching about the whole fact of, you know, earning that right to make it happen, rather than just going in for sloppy form. And I think
So you're saying like in the gym, like build the form,
yeah,
and build up slowly. So you're saying weight's not too important. I think I don't know what the saying is, but there is something about that in the like form's better. There's a saying for that. I just don't know what it is.
I think you're thinking about the design one, aren't you? Form follows function.
I wasn't, but that works.
Okay.
I wasn't, but that works. We'll roll with that.
Slightly different concept, but yeah, in this case, it is more along the lines of actually the function of what you're trying to do, the movement of the muscle and grow the muscle, or being to utilize that to increase the inefficiency effectively of your body. So you're utilizing more calories if you're doing this for a fat loss type of thing. Means that you actually get the right form by doing the right kind of motion, and you actually end up with the function you're looking for in the first place.
It just takes a bit more time.
Yeah,
you can't really expect fast results.
No, and that's the whole point. This isn't a get fit quick scheme. This is a get fit quick properly scheme.
Fit for life.
Exactly, fit for life. It's a lifetime ambition. It's not not something you're going to have overnight and then tomorrow you're going to be back to the size you were if you're not careful. So yeah, definitely, it's changing that approach, changing that mindset. You want a body that's going to last you. It's not going to wear out just because you kind of threw everything at it and you miss the whole point. Yeah, absolutely. Right, guys. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed this episode.
We got a like today, actually. Look at that.
We got a like. Oh, yeah, we've got a like.
First one.
We love it. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helen.
Helen. Yeah.
Excellent. So, as always, you're free to watch this on Facebook, on YouTube. It's also on all the podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Give us feedback. We love feedback. Anything you guys would like us to cover, we haven't covered yet. Comments, like, share, subscribe, share, all those kind of lovely things, and send in your questions. We're here to answer whatever you need.
Yeah, definitely check out the YouTube page. That's where I want to be, really.
Yeah, Dom's been working really hard on that one. It's starting to look really good. Well, actually, I like it. So hopefully you guys will like it too.
But yeah, Sharp Fit on YouTube. I changed the name last week, so.
Cool. Right. So I've said, it's goodbye from me and goodbye from him. Take care.